Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth interview of our live interview series, which has been titled as Technology in Architecture and Design 2.0. I'm really glad to share that for our fourth interview today, we have with us a furniture designer, Peter Donders from Belgium. Hi, Peter, how are you?
Hi there, I'm fine. It's another lovely day to talk to you over the computer.
It's been really great experience looking at your work, and I've been going through your website, your social media pages, and we are really fascinated with the kind of exploration that you have been doing in the realm of the furniture with the digital technologies, and also your fascination with the Art Nouveau. So, Peter, can you tell us a little bit about what kind of work you do?
I started my activity as a hands-on furniture maker in '87. I think it was just I left school and I started a little company for furniture making, and in all those years I was fascinated by Art Nouveau, but I gave it a little different touch. Started to using MDF and shaping organic shapes out of it and do some paint jobs and stuff. And actually in 1999 we bought a house, we get married, everything changes. I had to do some we had some projects, but they were all canceled, so there was nothing to do. So I started playing around with my PC, and I discovered Rhino. And at first I didn't know how it worked, so I was totally out of the blue, clicking and everything on whatever you can click, and getting a lot of errors and stuff. And then it seems to be some kind of some light in the end of the tunnels, and then it started to work. I could make a square, I could make a surface, I could extrude it as a volume, and that was the start. It's a cube, just a simple cube, but that was a revelation. So at that time, I started about 17 hours a day trying to accomplish some of my organic shapes in Rhino, but it was too off limits. It was 2x too heavy for the machine. It was too hard for me to do that, and so I tried to do some simple things, and so I started learning. So in 2003, I came up with T-splines from Matthew Sederberg from Salt Lake City, and that was some kind of bridge. For me, it was a bridge between mesh modeling and NURBS modeling. So I could put a mesh in T-splines and make it a NURBS, one click. That was great. Plus, you got all the organic features with T-splines. So that was actually the start of the organic transition in Rhino. I did some chairs for the Blackpool Theatre. I used T-splines as one of the first for an production facility in metal casting for the feet of the chair. I played around with then it was implicit history. Now it's called Grasshopper. Everybody knows Grasshopper, and if you don't, you're not from this world, I guess. But anyway, so for me it was always Rhino. A mesh modeler. I needed a mesh modeler, so I came up with Modo. Modo is a very powerful mesh modeler, plus it's great render engine. So I got all these tools together just for 2,000 euros. I was set up with very powerful software, and then everything just like the title says, where the wind takes me. Then I got a stadium to do. Then I got a theater. Then I got some other stuff. Everything comes in place over time. Plus, I created my own collection that's called the Peter Donders collection. That was a very short introduction. Sorry for that. It was
that's wonderful to know your journey. And what has been really fascinating for me while going through that is that your experience as a craft furniture designer and maker earlier, and then also your fascination with Art Nouveau has actually helped you use this tool quite extensively.
yeah,
And
yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
that is something that is really going to be fascinating to see in your work. So for the viewers, the title of the today's talk is very interesting that Peter has chosen, and that is the Wherever the Wind Takes Me. And he's just sort of already introduced the title in his way, the way he sort of evolved his journey. So I would actually like to invite Peter to share his work with us. Peter, over to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, first of all, in time of pandemic, you got all these 3D files, whatever, and nobody can see it in real life. So I was thinking by myself, let's make a museum. So I started building my own museum in Sketchfab. So this is all full 3D. This is the Vines chair. I will come to that later, but I will go to the entrance. And so this is stuff from 2018. It's a desk. You can see. Actually, it's a sort of amplifier. You can put your iPhone in here, and you got two speakers out. That's some kind of funny idea that would be possible with this. And then I just try to make shapes that look nice. So it looks very complex, but I start with a cube, and a cube is also a sphere, and a sphere is also a cube in sub D. So it's depending on the level of subdivision you add to the mesh. You get smooth stuff or not smooth stuff. So this is the Vines chair. I will show you some pictures of the making of. This is the 3D model, and this is the real picture in the background. So then I had a few pieces of wood left from the chair, so I designed a piece that I could make from the wood I had left. So I made this small tripod table. This is one of my famous pieces, the Shelley. This is 3D modeled in T-splines way back in 2009, 2010. Then it was printed in resin. Then it was cast in bronze. So this is the 3D model. And you see here the picture, that's the real thing. So I can do aluminum, I can do bronze. It's 37 kilos of bronze, quite heavy. Then this is one of the last things, actually this is the last thing I made. It's 4 Chambers of the Heart. It's in plywood also. This is the finished product as a render, as a 3D model, and this is how it's built up. You see the connection points. Every piece is numbered in the computer, and it's all rotated in 2D. So you see there's the number of the piece. So it's preparing the stuff is half the work, they say. So if you have a good preparation of the files, it's just it's a puzzle. You put it together and you sand away the things that are too much, and then the chair will be left. This is a model I never made because it's too complex. It's too expensive to make the print first and then to cast it. But actually, it's based on a 2D image, and it's I call it lace because it's all open. But it's a very small structure I did in 3D, and then I put it over the curved shape. and then I can manipulate the everything on it. So it's endless possibilities for these kinds of chairs, furnitures. This is some parametric holes, I call it. It's like Swiss cheese, but then in bronze, and you can sit on it. So then we get there. This is the wind I made in 2019, also in plywood, all layered up. Also the same principle with support and positioning points in the files. These are the images of the bench. This is the 3D model. Then I got the C bench version 2010, but cast. So this bench is carbon fiber. It's filament wound around a mold in a big machine. I came up with a company who was winding vessels for pressure, for oxygen and hydrogen. And then I was thinking, oh, that's nice material. It looks nice. It's very strong, very light. We can make a bench out of it. So I designed the bench, but it was not possible to make. The guys told me you have to calculate the winding pad, and there's no software to do this. So I made my own software, and we made the bench. And the one in the front, wait a minute, back. This one in bronze is based on the winding pattern of the carbon fiber, but then with a volume of in casting or 3D printing stuff. See? Anyway, you got a 3D model. You can make changes. You can make whatever you like, variations. This was in the Batu Idea for 2011. I designed this for a contest at T-Splines, and I got the second prize because it was impossible to make, they told me. And then after 3 months, I sent pictures of the casting in a 3D printed sand mold with Voxeljet in Germany. And that's how we do it in Belgium, I said. So they apologized for giving me the second place because it was not makeable. So I made it. And but anyway, it's no problem. It's in good hands now. The piece is sold to a collector in Swiss. So then the Dusty, I start making the Shelley variations, also with 3D, and then layered up, but with construction of where you need the strength. You got the horizontal lines of the seat and the back, and it's all connected like this. So it's very strong chair. I only need 2 plates of 153 centimeters by 153 centimeters of 6 mil plywood. Then I also made a comparison table. So the years I was not using the computer, this wouldn't be possible to make. It's too complex to start from scratch, gluing some pieces together and then start sanding away. But this, you got already when the pieces are rotated on the machining, on the milling machine, you got an idea of the shape, how it's gonna look. So this one I did in 2015. I never made this. So I got more things I never made than things I ever will make. So I got a very big library of digital files. This is just a 7-foot denser. So what's in a name, I would say, but I like the shape, and I got 7 feet. So that's dense. Then I got all these different kinds of chairs. Most of the time I have chairs now. This is a little project I did with Rhino and Grasshopper. So you can do whatever you like in the computer app, but this is also made in silver. It's almost 1 kilo of silver. I got the real thing. Then I got with the sand molds from the Bateau Idea I showed you before, we made the negative shape to cast aluminum, but with the sand, we started also to make positive shapes and impregnate them with resin. So you got the sand pots, parametric design, and then it's printed in sand and impregnated with resin. And this is a painted version, but you can do whatever you like. You see, so there's a lot of things possible. Also shoes. I did design the shoes. I never make those because I cannot wear them. Oh, sorry. It's not so for a guy. It's hard to walk on these shoes. So I don't make them. That's the bench, and then we got the museum. Okay, you see, it's all in 3D. That's the first thing I would like to show. Now I can go to the the vines. So this is 3D model, all split up in parts. You see. Then you got all these numbers where the hole comes for the connections, all the parts, and some measurements. And then you got the picture of the real chair. Very nice detailed, very nice piece of work. It took a little bit longer than I was thinking, but the result is very nice. And then you see, this is how it's made in my workshop. A lot of dust and stuff. Okay, that was the vines. I can go back to the walnut shelly. There's a lot of this is the 3D printed version of the shelly. This is the walnut. I'm gonna do it fast because I got a lot of images on this one. All these details and carvings and stuff. You see, but it's very nice to make stuff like that. If you for years working on a computer, you go back to your workshop, you smell the wood, you smell the dust. It's a great experience. And it's fun to do. So this is the Dusty. This is the Shelly. All these fancy details. But I was amazed that the price of the wood is very high in Belgium and Holland. So I have to be very careful with the things I cut out, keep them safe in a place and reuse them again. See, there's one layer of oil on I put on the walnut. Okay, so we got the wind. Actually, this is a little 3D print. This is the big piece on the table, all the layers with the position points. This is the final product. It's 2 meters long, 2 meters 20, I guess, 1 meter high. You see all the design from the layers because actually it's all horizontal lines, but the cutouts will show you the details of the wood. So this is the top, the front, the nose. This is the other side. That's what why I call it wind is because it's some kind of It's a moment of a period. It's an image of a period in time, what wind could do over a certain distance. So it sounds very, I don't know how it sounds, but anyway, it's not just an image. It's a movement. It's a movement over time, and it's captured in a shape. That's what I tried to do with the wind. So that was the wind. Then I got four chambers of the. So this also actually it's always the same, but it's always a different shape. The way to work. So there's all these small pieces in a box, and then they are sorted by number. So I go very fast for this. You see all the. Actually, you get the shape when you put them together in the right order. You get the shape. So, and it's all glued together. Then I have to sand it. So you see. This took a while to make, also a few weeks till finished. So then every time I make a piece like this, and I cut away the connection point, so I got the position points in the piece itself. So that's the way to work. So this is all cleaned up. You see, all cleaned up. All these small parts with the connections, you see. Then I put in very small pins of bamboo to reinforce the piece a little bit, because it's getting very thin. You will see that right away. So this is all sanding work. All these little pins to make it a little bit stronger. And building up the total shape. This is the backside. Oops. Some concert between. A lot of dust. And a lot of gluing. And sometimes you have to figure out how to put it together. It's not so obvious, but I try to think about everything before I start building it, but sometimes you forget something, and then you have to do it all over again, but it's no problem. If you have it in 3D, you can adjust things. So I made some little bridges to make it stronger. So then with the thing is I can put it together to see how it looks. It's always interesting. Also under you see how thin it gets. You see the light from through the wood. So then you have to stop sanding, because otherwise you have a hole. So that's all gluing together. You see, this is sand. This is not sanded yet. We have to glue it together. Then you can finish it off. Then this was finished, and so it's a work of patience, and I call it meditation. For me, it's meditation a little bit. Sanding gets me quiet, and then you cannot hurry with things like this. You have to take it by the minute. Otherwise, it goes wrong, and all your work is for nothing. So I make pins to glue it together with the same material. Blah blah blah. Always. Then it gets finished. See, that's the bottom part connected. I put this one on because it was too thin. That was one of my mistakes, to make it very thin everywhere, and then sometimes it's too thin, so I have to put these ribs on top, actually on the bottom. But it's a very nice. It's almost everywhere. It's about 8 to 10 millimeters thick, so it's very thin, very light also. And then to avoid breaking, I had to add, where we go. Let's go some faster. Now you got a clear look how it looks at the end. Too much images, but it's very detailed. It's very nice. Looks very nice. That are the ribs to make it stronger, the seat, because this is very weak point was. And to make it very strong, I added glass fiber on the inside, because I'm gonna work with color paint and a translucent varnish for the other side. So I put on the glass fiber to make it stronger. This is like a boat, and then everything is filled up with glass fiber and resin. So that was the vines wind. I got the frog. Maybe you know the frog from the I Materialize website. It's all over there. It's parametric design. Actually started with a low polygon mesh of the frog, and then put on some grasshopper stuff to make it very smooth and with the little dimples inside. So I started with 170 polygons, and I end up with 3 million polygons at the end for printing. So this is the wireframe, you see. Oh, wait a minute, I will show you here. Sorry for that. So this is all quad mesh, and it comes from a very low poly frog. So if I adjust the mouth of the frog, everything will follow. So I try to work so low poly as possible, and the end result the output has to be very high poly. So this is most of the time I do things like that. So one other thing is I do other stuff. In Rhino, I can do mechanical stuff also. So this is a part of the retractable system of the stadium in Las Vegas, the Raiders Stadium. So I all designed these parts. They go down and they can roll out. There are wheels underneath. So I got the plans for the building, and then we put in these parts in metal. Also, I make the production plans for every piece. So I got about 25,000 pieces. And this is, wait a minute, I got to show you this. This is a nice one. This is one piece. They're rolling it out. This is the stadium in Las Vegas, and this is the grass field. It rolls on a rail. They can roll it inside the stadium and outside the stadium if there is an event like a concert or something like that. So this is just one piece We delivered, I think, 500,000 kilos of steel just to open up the south side. So this is the field. They were driving here. This will go inside and outside. This is the weight with grasshopper. You can calculate the weight of all the pieces, the square meters of paint, blah, blah, blah. So this is the building. There's a glass rooftop. It's air conditioned because it's quite hot. I think this side, we made this side. This whole piece goes out and the field goes underneath the building to the outside. So that's the Vegas project. Yeah, you see stuff like this. This is the grasshopper definition to create this. So that's the Vegas. Then we got some 3D stuff if you want to see. I'm gonna go back first. Got to go back to the stop sharing, and then let's see what's happening over there at your end. Hello.
Yeah, hi Peter.
Hi.
It was really nice to see, the backend processes. Of course, you've been seeing the final outcome on your website and social media, but the real sort of a patient job behind putting each numbered piece and then finally, as you said, sanding it. And a couple of, I think, places you mentioned that, like walking into the workshop and smelling the wood. And then, you were comparing the sanding with almost like the meditation. And it sort of reminded me that at the core of it, you are still that craftsman. You are still a craftsman who love to work with a lot of materials, and you are using the digital tools. But at the end, it's still, I think, it's a contemporary kind of a craft that is coming up. And that is something wonderful to see in all of these pieces. Wonderful sort of combination of craft and the technology that one can see in your work. So let me ask you. I mean, you've said that you started your journey as a craftsman, craft furniture maker, and then slowly sort of you discovered the digital tools, and also your fascination with the Art Nouveau and the Victor Horta's sort of work that you can see and he was actually from Belgium, and you could actually perhaps go and see. So how do you find this Art Nouveau still relevant in sort of the contemporary, in the present day context, in the kind of work that you do?
The relevance is the Art Nouveau was some kind of time limited period in history where people were needing nice, beautiful stuff, and Victor Horta was one of the most famous Belgian architects, and he was very good in what he did. He did everything he designed the house, he designed the handles for the door, he designed the candles, he designed it. I think he even did the toilet. But that's the thing I love the most, is because he could do everything. Yeah. He was not restricted to, I can design a building, yes, but the doors, I don't know. He put in his door, he put in on his handle, he put on his key, he put on his name on everything. So that's the fascinating thing of Victor Horta. He was a genius. Imagine he had a computer.
Yeah,
it would be beyond. There are people trying to figure out the mathematics after behind his drawings. There is no mathematics. It's in the eye. It's in the head, and it's in the heart. If the line is correct, if it's beautiful, it takes you. If it's ugly, you see it. It's not correct. If it's good, you don't know why it's good, but it is. So that's what I'm trying to do with my shapes. I have a lot of designs. I have a huge library, and not everything is good. So I got more bad things than good things, but even the bad things are quite good. so, but I don't show them because it's not good enough. I want it to be very nice, very good looking, it's feminine, it's sexy, it's whatever you call it. It has to be it has to be beautiful. It has to live. It makes you happy when you see it. It has to make you happy.
Yeah. So when we look at the Art Nouveau, and the Art Nouveau was actually a very wide sort of a movement. People practiced in architecture, in craft, in furniture, in glass, in ceramics, and everything was sort of going on. But there were certain consistent sort of themes. So taking inspiration from organic shapes, from nature, and that sort of then transforming it into a kind of a work of an art. Now, when you start combining the computer technology, as you said, imagine if Victor Horta had access to Grasshopper. How do you think the digital tools and the CNC tools help you achieve those qualities?
They help me because there are much more things possible than without the tools. It's not that I would use like for example, the wind bench. I made it by 2D patterns rotated out of a plate. Glued them together and then sanded off what was too much. That's like Michelangelo, and then they did also Leonardo da Vinci. He took a big piece of marble and he said, David is inside, so I have to take away what's too much. So, but for the wind, if you imagine the wind being milled with a 5-axis CNC machine, it would cost lots of money, even more than I will get for it. But I'm faster and I'm flexibler than a CNC machine in this case. So I can adjust at the moment when I'm getting somewhere and that's not good enough. I can adjust the shape. A CNC machine cannot adjust the shape. It's just milling what's sent to the machine. If the positioning of the block is not correct, it will rotate in the air. So it would so the complexity of the complexity of possibilities is you have to be aware of the level of what am I willing to put in on effort. Is it money? Is it material? Is it time? Is it sanding paper? Is it whatever you like? But get the job done. I'm limited, and that's a very unlimited feeling. So I can do whatever I like because I'm limited. So that's a crazy sentence, but it is. If I change the shape, I will, and nobody can tell me it's not correct because nobody knows it. So, and if you're working with a CNC machine, the file is the file, and that's it.
Yeah. And so, while you were showing that Shelley chair, I think it's been done in aluminum, it's been done in bronze also, casting,
yeah.
Right? First it was 3D printed, I think, the resin, and then the sand casting would have been, I assume, the process of casting.
No, it's actually the 3D print was burned out like lost wax.
Okay.
So we burned the 3D print. That's not so.
Okay. So
Don't tell anybody.
That's okay. No, so that you mentioned that in that particular piece it would have been very difficult to do it without, let's say, the CNC tools or the digital application. So is it that these tools are making you realize, are making you actualize things which are earlier maybe just with the help of a craft would not have been possible?
For me, the CNC machine is very, very. It's amazing what it can do, but you have to use it for what it's made for.
Yeah.
If you cannot, for the wind bench, it's not possible to mill in one piece. It's impossible. Yeah. You cannot get everywhere. The Shelly, same problem. Nobody will copy the Shelly because it's insane how much work there is to.
Yeah.
It's not. Silicon mold is not possible for the Shelly. It's too complex shape. The only thing is 3D printed, and then the finishing is huge work. It's also meditation, sanding meditation.
Great to hear that. In many of your, like even the wind and the Shelly and even other ones, it almost becomes difficult to differentiate whether it's a sculpture or whether it's a furniture. The lines actually get blurred. Of course, there are other kinds of pieces also, like the dusty table that you've made, which has it's more like furniture-like appearance. But particularly the wind and the Shelly, it almost, one cannot imagine the function. So is it that there is an intentionally you're trying to sort of blur the boundary between, let's say, the art and the furniture, or the function and the sculpture? If I may.
For me, there is no blur line. It's shape, and it for. I think since I started with the C bench, I make shapes that create a nice shadow. You take away the shape, you don't have a shadow. So what is the blurred line between having a shadow or having no shadow? Once a student of mine, he asked me, is there a shadow in the dark? I say, yes, there is a white shadow in the dark, but you cannot see it. So if there is light, there is a black shadow. So if you take away the light, the shadow should be white. So it's the opposite. But it's not correct, but it's the opposite. For me, it's the opposite. In the dark spaces, there is a white shadow, but you cannot see it.
Yeah.
So there's no blurred line and objects. It comes. I think it's the way I grew up with furniture and stuff like that. So I make furniture with a different shape language than a traditional furniture maker would do. He would keep it simple. I cross borders. I go where nobody should go or has been. Blah blah blah.
Fantastic. No, and that's how the title also says, wherever the wind takes me. And
yeah,
and it's been there even in your sort of a journey also. I mean, one can see that you are not afraid of adopting the new tools, and once you get a new tool, then it takes you to another place which opens up another possibilities. So yes. I think that's sort of a consistent thing. I want to ask you something about the materials that you've been using, and since to have the experience of working with the material as a craft furniture maker, you've spent about 15 years as that. And when you work as a craft maker, you have a very deep understanding of the material, of dealing with one-to-one, hand as to what the properties are. And there's a range of material that you use: aluminum, wood, bronze casting, milling, the plywood. And there's also carbon fiber. Now, it's very interesting because carbon fiber is something as a material that's not traditionally a furniture sort of a material. It's a material meant for more like automobiles and jet
aircraft, rockets,
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when you use carbon fiber, what is it that you're trying to sort of achieve with that material?
I achieved it. It was a combination. I came to the company and they were winding vessels, pressure vessels for nitrogen, whatever, high pressure vessels. Very strong, but it was always a cylindrical shape with a dome on top. So I was thinking, we can use the material to make something else. And I see the machine, I see the technique, I see the material, and then I start rethinking everything. And I start with the shape because that's what I do. So I designed the shape, and then the guy told me, Peter, this is not possible. You cannot wind this on the machine because you don't have the pattern, digital pattern. Say, what do you need? I said, I need the geodesic curve on the shape. I say, what is a geodesic curve? It's when you have a Christmas ball, a glass sphere, and you have a wet rope. It's wet with water, and you try to wind it around the glass sphere. The only thing where it sticks is the diameter of the sphere. If it goes smaller, it will shift. If it goes bigger, it will shift. So for a sphere, the geodesic pad is combined with the diameter. Then we go in other shapes. Then it gets very complex because now you have to calculate the part. So I made up a grasshopper definition with geodesic pads combined, and that wouldn't work because the first one was correct, the second one was off, the third one was off, and then the fourth one was off. So I have to figure out something to continuous to get this G2 continuous curve geodesic pad on the shape. And that took me a few weeks to figure out how it worked. And then I sent over the data to the guy and he said, whoa, wait a minute, this could work. And it worked. So, but it's not the material, it's not the machine, it's not the shape, it's a combination of, I see something, can I do something with it, what nobody else has done. So actually I did the bench, it's 12 years ago now. Nobody else did it after me. So that I got the definition to calculate the winding patterns on any kind of shape, but that's it. I didn't take the patent on the calculation because if I take a patent, I have to write it down, and then they could read what I do. Now they cannot read. It's in my head, and that's where it stays. So,
so you call it calligraphy in 3D, but it, when I look at it, it's a wonderful kind of a contemporary craft. It's almost like a basket weaving. The layer after layer of the carbon fiber, which has been sort of overlaid. And then I believe there must have been kind of a foam, which sort of then taken away as a kind of a formwork on which you were probably doing it, which that formwork would have been probably sort of either melted. But
no, it's not. It's 20 pieces mold. You can take it out on the ends. It's a very, it's like a puzzle, but it goes out.
Okay.
I can reuse the mold, but
okay.
Actually the last bench is sold. I don't make them anymore. It's sold in Saudi Arabia.
So one question that I had, you talked about the patterns and writing, and there's a consistent theme across in your work of taking the material away, of making things lighter, and sort of, and that's also something that one sees in nature. You sort of put the material just about where it is needed. And I could see that very well in that carbon fiber thing, because it had the right density of the material at the places where it was just needed. Okay. So do you do the grasshopper calculations, or as you said that, no, it's just about an intuitive sort of understanding that, okay, this is where the more weight is going, no more stresses are going to be. So I put more dense sort of a pattern and here I can expand. How do you arrive at that?
That's some kind of feeling I got when the mold is totally covered and the holes are similar to each other. It's nicely expanded over the shape. I always have extra curves calculated. If I need something somewhere, I can add a pattern. But actually, it turned out quite well because the bench is 3 meters long, and on top there are the windings. They go from one end to the other one. It's almost a straight line, and that's for the strength. That's perfect. So it came out quite well. It's I think I had 8 different curves calculated on the shape, and then you can flip it and flip it again. So you end up with a very complex looking structure. And actually, what you say is you see where the stress comes because the calculation pattern is in 2 directions. I can start where I need material, or I can start outside the shape to make it look good. So that it's always in 2 directions I can work. So
yeah. So let me ask you just a couple of questions, sort of to end, about your practice. I mean, what kind of setup you have? I mean, you mean starting from the design to the making. I mean, what kind of? I mean, do you have your in-house sort of production, CNC milling, this and that? How do you sort of manufacture or create these pieces?
Most of the time, I just design stuff. I show it to people that they are willing to order it and pay for it, and then I make it. I used to have a gallery in Paris, and the lady, very nice lady, she only put pictures on the website of real things, except for my designs. She put on renders because anyway, if he designs it, he can make it. So it was no problem for making. The making is no problem. I don't have a CNC machine. I don't even have a 3D printer. So when I need a 3D print, I will get that done by a company who's specialized in 3D printing. So it's not that I don't like a 3D printer, but I cannot afford the professional material, so I don't buy the lower quality. I cannot work with. So for production, actually, when I design it, I know how to make it. Anyway, we can slice it up. We can blow mold it, whatever. If we can make a mold, we can produce it, so it's no problem.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I think that's it. Really, sort of, I would like to conclude here. It's been really fascinating to see your work and to talk to you and know about the insights of how these wonderful bespoke pieces of furniture are executed. And there is when one looks at the images, it's all seems very flawless, but there's a very patient sort of a craftsman approach behind it, which you sort of showed with the wind and that chair that you showed, that how step by step, there is a real sort of a craftsman approach that is needed. That's one. The knowledge of the material as to, how much of that, as you said, it's just about the light has started entering and that's okay, I need to stop here. So there's awareness of the property of the material. So at the end of the day, I realized that it is that sensibility of a craft and the material and the knowledge is at the core of it. And the digital tools are sort of adding a layer and helping you realize things which were perhaps earlier would have been difficult to sort of imagine.
Yeah, that's correct.
And it's a wonderful combination of craft and 3D printing. Actually, the digital tools that I've come across. It was really wonderful, Peter. Thank you for your time and sharing your work and patiently answering my strange questions.
No, it's not strange. It's for me, it's obvious. People would like to know how things are made, how things are done. as you say, it's the 3D stuff, the digital stuff is a very big layer for me. It's enormous. What I can make variations on the fly. I can do transitions on the fly. I can, if somebody tells me, can you make it a little bit wider? It's just 2 clicks and it's already possible. Everything is possible. Almost everything is possible. So.
Thank you, Peter, and we will keep in touch with you, and we'll keep looking for more of your works on your website and also on your social media. And
yeah, there's a lot of things coming on the metaverse, so I'm also in there.
That's actually another side of your practice, the architectural project that you've been doing, and something that we've not yet seen. Let's hope that at someday we'll get together again, something like this, and we'll talk about your architectural projects also. It'll be wonderful to see how these things sort of get translated into your architectural large-scale projects also. So thank you so much, Peter. And let me also thank all the people who have joined with us on various platforms. And this was the 4th interview in our series. We've been trying to understand what is the role the technology is playing in the field of architecture and design. And I think it was a wonderful demonstration today as to what the digital fabrication, digital tools combined with the craft can produce. So we'll be having our 5th interview this Friday itself with Krishnendu Mukherjee from Bureau Happold. I look forward to see you guys all again on this Friday at 6 p.m. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Bye, Peter.
Bye-bye.